Welcome to the Freedom Pounder podcast. I'm your host, Zach Duggar. Now, I want to ask yourself a question. Have you ever felt stuck? You ever felt like you're in a place that you just don't know where to go to get to that next step? Or you just don't know what's holding you back? Maybe there's something in your life that you have in your history or in your present, or you're not even sure when or why, but it's holding you back. Well, today my guest is Eileen MacDonell, and she is a two-time international best-selling author. She is a medium and intuitive. She's a breakthrough and results coach. She's also a Napoleon Hill trainer and Robbins-Madanes coach. So she comes with a lot of experiences and a lot of ways to support people, but she wants to come right to where those points of sticking points are to be able to help people break through and to be who they truly are. So thank you, Eileen, for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful that you have this medium to communicate with people. This is so great.
Absolutely. Yep. Our goal is to get information out about what people are doing in the business sector and coming from all walks of life and also operating in all different types of areas of business. So very excited to talk to you today. But first, I want to just start with, where you're at now isn't where you started. So, the end doesn't always come from where you were at the beginning, but it helped to shape and develop where you are today. So I wanted you to go ahead and talk a little bit about your background and what, early experiences that shaped where you're at today.
What a good question. Okay, and way to dive right in. I love it. So this is a very long story, but just to capture where I started, I grew up in an alcoholic home that was also violent. So from a very early age, I knew that, I was conditioned to know that I couldn't trust, that I didn't know love, that it wasn't safe for me to get close with people, that it was going to hurt if I got close or if I was seen. And I remember since I was a little girl, I would pretend that I was living in the little people house, the little people toys, right? So I had one that was Sesame Street. Or if I saw a train set, I would imagine that I was living there because it had to be, that experience had to be better than what I was currently living. And through my childhood, I had that reminder of, you are meant for more than this. This isn't actually the way that this was supposed to go. And today I know that that's exactly how it was supposed to go, so I could be where I am today. And I am so grateful that I had the upbringing that I did, because it created such resiliency and persistence in me that has led me to where I am. And if I had to pick one moment, it was probably when my father died. Back in 1992, he was 58 years old. And I hadn't seen him the morning that he died. He died in hospital. And I was on my way to see him. And I said to myself, I will never miss an opportunity again.
Yeah.
And it was so, I remember hanging up the phone, and I remember just sitting on the edge of my bed, feeling that there was such a deep and profound sadness of not truly connecting with him. It was my mom, actually, that was the abusive alcoholic. So not really having that relationship with him, that impacted me more in my life than anything else, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You said also that when you had later been working through some of the difficulties that you experienced, that you were told that based on your childhood experiences that you at this point or at that point should have been an alcoholic or unemployed, had a lot more struggles than what you were coming to the table with. How did you get through some of those early experiences to be able to actually be able to help others?
Yeah. Well, I sought help. And that's the thing, is that I think what you're referencing is when I had suffered from severe postpartum depression, and a year of suffering with it in silence, I finally sought help. And first of all, the doctor that I saw was incredible. He normalized the way that I was feeling, and the thoughts that I was having. And he said, Eileen, I got to tell you, your mother had a choice and she made the wrong choice. You don't have to make the wrong choice. So that was really like a mantra for me of, your mother made the wrong choice. You can make the right one. And he said, based on all the trauma that I had experienced, he said, you're a miracle, because you should be an abuser, a drug addict, an alcoholic, in prison, not doing nearly as well as I was doing at that time. And I was so proud of that, because in our lives, from our upbringing, whenever we've gone through any kind of trauma or any kind of abuse, we can either contrast or continue. There really is no other option. And so what happens sometimes in the brain is that you're looking to make that connection with the person who abused you. You're looking for that understanding of, how could you have done that? What does it feel like to do that? And it's not something that you're doing consciously. It's just something that the brain does. And thankfully, I chose to contrast. And so by me parenting so consciously, it led to it. I couldn't help it. I had to be conscious of my own thoughts.
Right.
When I started noticing the patterns of thoughts that I was having, that's when I felt like I was free to end those patterns, because I was like, okay, I'm telling myself that I'm not worthy. I'm telling myself that I can't do it. I'm telling myself that she's got more than me. She's prettier than me. She's better than me, whatever. And that's all based on previous patterning and conditioning that I got as a kid. And it doesn't have to be like that anymore. So through time and repetition and learning and seeking help, I was able to reprogram that for myself. So it's not a tape that I play anymore.
Right. So you created a change in yourself and your own thought process. And at some point you thought, if I can do this for myself, I can help others to be able to do this. When did you decide, or how did you decide to start to work with others in regards to their own need for breakthrough and their own need for a reprogramming of the thought process and making those changes in their own lives?
I don't think there was ever a moment of, okay, I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to start helping people. It was really just, I've unlocked something and now I want to help you. So my friends would automatically call me and I'd be like, okay, let's get into solution. Let's look at the pattern. And people started telling me, hey man, you're really good at this. And then I realized that with my intuitiveness, I could literally see within just a few minutes, I could see people's blind spot. And when I was brave enough to trust that intuition and that messaging that I was getting, and I was brave enough to trust and to say it, that's when transformation started to happen, because you can't unknow something.
Right.
Once somebody tells you, like, your breakthrough's in self-trust. That's the blind spot. You don't trust yourself enough to move forward. And when they hear that and they're like, oh, and then they know it and they get to work on it, and then things unlock for them, it's something, and I just get to witness it. And that's the payoff. So it wasn't one situation. It was just, it was part of the journey.
Yeah. So conversations with friends and others that you encountered that confirmed that you had this ability, as well as that desire to share in that change with others. And so now let's talk about the sacred breakthrough, make epic shifts happen, and what you're doing today in regards to continuing to grow in this area and continuing to expand your ability to help others. So share a little bit about that now, and what you're currently doing in kind of business operation.
So full transparency. The sacred breakthrough is built based on everything that we don't want about the coaching industry, which is really interesting because anytime I worked with a coach, anytime I worked with anybody that could help me up level my life, it was always on a timer, and it was always very limited. And there wasn't this idea of going the extra mile and extra support and just pouring into people for the love of the work. And that's what the sacred breakthrough is. It's a place where it's been crafted to be a program that introduces you to mastering your thought. So imagine if you could control the way that you think. And your brain didn't go through that wheel of ticking the box to run that pattern, that subconscious, completely unconscious pattern that you don't want running. And it runs it anyway. What would your life look like if you could interrupt it? And so that's how you make epic shifts happen. Is by interrupting one thought. One thought is all it takes to unlock. And because the thought, it shows up in nuanced ways in different parts of your life. Because, and I know you've heard this before, but how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it's when you find that thread and you start to pull on the thread and you notice that it's running through your whole life, that's where seismic shifts can happen. I'm sorry, my gratitude timer just went off, and I didn't shut it off.
No problem.
Yeah, just really quick is, set a timer for 1 hour and then just repeat it 12 times a day and be grateful in that moment. That alone will make huge changes in your life. So the sacred breakthrough, it really is about holding space for the breakthrough, for you to truly live in your power and purpose. And so many people think that these are just hot words. But if we are not living how we really want to live, we're not fulfilled. And we don't want to live a life unfulfilled. We want to feel that we've made a difference. We want that legacy. And it doesn't have to be this huge thing that's so scary and, seemingly insurmountable. It could be something so tender and small, but it means everything to you. And I want everyone to feel that. I want everyone to feel that they matter, that they've been seen, they've been heard, and that they matter, and that what they want from their life matters. And
absolutely.
It's just taking that step.
Who is it that would be benefited by going through the sacred breakthrough and working with you?
Oh, geez. And it's so easy to say, well, everyone, but it really is for the person that is ready. Because if you're not ready to do the work, then it's not going to work. Because of course you can manifest through thought, but it also takes action. That's the other component, is walking it out and creating and having that transformative experience, and for you to really stand for yourself and participate. That's huge. So the first thing is that they must be ready. Secondly is they must be committed to their breakthrough. That they've made up their mind that now is the time, that they're not going to let 2023 end the way that 2022 did, that it's going to be different. And if this speaks to someone, they'll know it in their heart and they'll feel it. And that's the way to make a decision. That's the way, is to, okay, I have all the information. Great. Does it feel right? And if it feels right, then dive in.
Do you have anything upcoming that someone that is interested in checking out this information could look into?
Yeah, for sure. So we have the next Sacred Breakthrough. It's starting on the 19th of February. So they could go to thesacredbreakthrough.com to check it out. Yeah, no, that would be great. Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. If we put that up. So thesacredbreakthrough.com if you're interested in checking out the next upcoming event. and just finding out more information as well about the work that Eileen is doing. I encourage you to check that out. As she mentioned, on the surface, really, it could be valuable to everyone, but it also has to be the right time for you too. But check that out. I have just a couple of additional questions for you before we close, Eileen. Some that I like to ask everybody. And the first is just in regards to on the business side in general, when someone's getting started or and they're operating and they're making this a part of their livelihood, um, it isn't always that they have a cause that is as substantial as I see it as yours is, but there is that need for the business operation too. So you still need to learn things along the way. So I'm wondering if you could give us a success tip or a lesson learned in regards to on the business side of the journey.
So first thing is always seek help from someone who does more than you do or has achieved what you want to achieve. That is so important. It's so easy for us to get advice or counsel from our peers, from our family, from our spouses, from our friends, but they're often not the ones that have the answers for us.
Yeah.
And the second piece of advice that I would give that I've learned the very challenging way is to trust yourself. That if you have an idea and it feels good to you and you start executing it, trust that you will be given the next step of the plan. You're going to receive it like a hunch or an intuition. It's going to feel good to you because nobody else can create in your experience. I read that. It was Abraham Hicks in a book, Ask and It Is Given. No one else can create in your experience. So it's nice to follow the counsel of other people, even those, doing more than you and getting help, but it doesn't have to be to the letter. And you'll often find that your success won't come with the exact recipe because you are the only you.
Yes, absolutely. Excellent advice. And then my $1 million question. If you were to be given $1 million to invest in your business or another endeavor at this time, what would you do with that?
That's wow. That's a really great question. And I don't know if I shared this with you already, but my husband has severe PTSD. He was he was in law enforcement for almost 21 years. And so right now we're going through the application process for a service dog, for a service animal for him.
Yeah.
From my understanding, the difference that it makes in the families and the lives of people who have PTSD or a service dog with a family with autism or special needs or sensory needs, the difference to the family and the quality of life is incredible. So as a family who has PTSD in the home, it's not just something that happens to the one person. It happens to our whole lives. So what I would do with $1 million is I would find organizations that serve and support families with PTSD and get them a service animal so that they can help heal and move on, because the insidiousness of this disease is awful, and it is rampant in law enforcement and military.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something that people may not even be aware of as an option for that would be available to help in their time of need as well. So, I mean, I think that's a great way to make use of resources and to give back to others that you see both in your personal life, and that would extend out beyond that to those that are also experiencing the same things. So yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Eileen. Now I wanted to just quickly ask, other than the website, if people wanted to reach out to you, what is the best way for someone to reach out to you?
Of course. So you could always find me on Facebook. I look like this. Probably with a little bit more makeup and a green top, but this is basically what I look like, Eileen MacDonell. Also, you could find, I've co-authored a couple of books, 11 Aligned Alchemists on Amazon, as well as Cracking the Rich Code Volume 7.
Okay. All right. I'll definitely encourage people to reach out to Eileen, check out those books, and also check out The Sacred Breakthrough. And thank you again for your time, Eileen. I very much enjoyed this conversation, and I
Thank you,
100%
Zach.
agree with you. So many people could benefit from the work that you do. So thank you, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for continuing that. Absolutely.
Thanks, Zach.
All right. Yeah.